Are you going to give your land away to a group just because they're indigenous? Then this report's not for you. Are you going to cut your children from the will to pass on your stolen land because a band says their ancestors picked berries near you? Then this report is also not for you. But if you know you didn't steal anything, you know all Canadians are connected to this land, and you're tired of divisive land acknowledgments professing that you believe otherwise, then boy, do I have a report for you, followed by a call to action at endlandacknowledgements.com. Drea Humphrey with Rebel News, and just because I'm not a historian doesn't mean I don't know history. So, about a decade ago, when I first started to hear the odd land acknowledgement mantra being recited by Canadians professing they're on stolen and unceded land, I quietly looked from side to side to gauge whether or not I was the only one who remembered that, shh, Indigenous tribes colonized too. For example, the Iroquois Confederacy displaced rival nations to dominate the fur trade. Here in British Columbia, the Tlingit expanded their territory through war, and Haida Nation, aka Canada's Indigenous Vikings, well, they even took on their neighboring enemies as slaves. It would be absurd to place some sort of moral guilt on the descendants of such people and use that to challenge their legitimacy as Canadians or the legitimacy of Canada. And yet, here we are, where non-Indigenous Canadians are increasingly expected to play along with compelled land acknowledgements that do just that, and throughout our publicly funded institutions. They're declared ahead of national anthems, performances at our kids' schools. They're recited by royalty in our legislative chambers.
I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and the Shinabeg people. This land acknowledgement is a recognition of shared history as a nation.
And even a community desperately awaiting the RCMP's latest update on the search for 2 missing children couldn't escape one.
First, I acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional and unceded ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I also recognize that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years.
And for those of you who say participation is not compelled, tell that to Mama 4 Lara Yates, who was banned from entering her kids' school property after speaking up against one. Or the parent council member, Catherine Cronus, who was suspended from her duties for doing the same thing. Or the 4 UBC professors who, in effort to restore academic freedoms, are actually having to legally challenge the university's sweeping land acknowledgement rituals, for which they claim themselves and students are forced to perform to conform to the school's political views. Some are beginning to also oppose land acknowledgements because they believe they're akin to racism, largely because they support the radical essentialism mentality that we see adapted by radical activists like this.
It is time that Canada realizes that they are on stolen land, and it's time that Canada gives it back.
So how much land and where would that land be when you say it should be given back?
All of this land.
So the whole country?
The whole country.
Or ones like this.
These guys are from a different country. I'm not. I'm an American Indian. I'm Scott Picani. Straight up facts. My homeland. Land back all day, every day. Land back, right, guys? Land back. This should be my people's homeland, right?
No, we
land back, right?
It's been paid for.
Oh, it's been paid for?
Why are you leaving it?
Because racists like you still exist, bro, in my homeland, my country. People like me had to get scalped for you to be here in my homeland, my country.
You don't even know us.
It's the truth. You can't even admit. Let me hear land back, bro.
Or even whole activist groups like this.
The most vicious settler colonialist occupation is we are living it here in North America. And we are sure when the world is liberated, the U.S. empire will collapse and our brothers and sisters in the indigenous community will have full rights. Their full rights, we are sure of it.
I mean, nothing is off limits, not even FIFA. But it's not just race-baiting activists that land acknowledgments and similar rhetoric supports. There's also elected officials who promote bloodline politics, like BC NDP MLA Rohini Arora.
Many non-Indigenous people, including myself, use the term settler, uninvited guest, or for white folks who self-describe as colonizer. It reminds us that we are here because of a colonial system. These words remind us that we live, work, and benefit from being on Indigenous land that was often taken without consent, especially here in British Columbia.
That's a scary sight for the non-Indigenous Canadians Aurora represents in Burnaby East, isn't it? After all, the landowners there are amongst millions uncertain about their private property rights, since the Liberal government recently agreed to grant the Musqueam Nation Aboriginal title across Greater Vancouver. And before you parrot the mainstream media headlines about how the band isn't really after anything that could impact private property rights, listen to what Aboriginal law expert Tom Isaac pointed out.
So for anyone to say that it doesn't affect private property, there is absolutely not a word about that in the agreement. And I'll just say, if I could say one other thing, they could have excluded private property from the agreement. If that's what they intended, this gets real simple. This isn't rocket science. You exclude it from the agreement. They chose not to. So they cannot give the assurance that private property is not affected. It's simply not accurate.
And the words of politicians like Aurora and others who make declarations about you being on unceded land absolutely have legal implications. Don't believe me? Just listen to Mayor Malcolm Brodie of Richmond City, which is currently appealing the BC Supreme Court's Cowichan v. Canada decision, which granted Cowichan Aboriginal title and deemed some of the residents' fee simple title defective and invalid.
The reason that we don't do a land acknowledgement is mostly because of the lawsuit by the Musqueam over the lands, the Garden City lands. That's the biggest factor. This case was a factor as well.
Enough is enough. The concern isn't that without land acknowledgements, we suddenly lose yesterday's Indigenous history. It's that Canadians are being pressured into repeating mantras that promote racial guilt and normalize the push for less rights today. So to stop land acknowledgements from being spoken over us and our children in the public sector, sign and share our petition at endlandacknowledgements.com. And remember the words of the great Luke Towers. This land is your land, this land is my land, from Bona Vista to Vancouver Island, from the Arctic Circle to the Great Lake waters. This land was made for you and me. Enough is enough. Head to endlandacknowledgements.com and sign and share our petition today.